Tonight's Chabura is Lili Nishmas, Sid's mother. One second. You have it? Anyone have it for me? Kraindel Bas Miriam. Bas Meir. That makes more sense. Kraindel Bas Meir. And the Shamash have an Aliyah, and it's also a schus refuah shlema to Baruch Tzvi ben Rivka Basya, who is a Talmud Chacham, a Tomech Torah, Lomed Torah, Yerushalayim, a person who's very young, 7 children, who was just diagnosed with a very difficult diagnosis in Florida. And Amir Hashem, our Torah, and if anyone, I can urge the tzibur, if anyone could just pick up any hakpados or any chumras, anything that you can do for an extra schus for this person. It's a person that I can say I personally admire, and a very special member of the Boca Raton community, and really needs Rachmei Shamayim. Is a very difficult prognosis. And in B'Yirtzeh Hashem, Shev Siyata D'Shmaya, and Pesha Asura, Pesha Hitter, B'Yirtzeh Hashem, should go away very quickly. So we're now starting a brand new topic, the issue of Kiddush HaChodesh. A new part of the Mishnah. Things start to flow these days. Mishnah, we're over the hump. We're in the second part of the Mishnah, and the Gemara goes as follows: Ibra Chodesh b'shloisha, to decide to add a day to the month. A month, according to halacha, has to have at least 29. I'm going to call it 29 and change. 29 and Yud Beis Shos and whatever chalakim. 29 and change. At least. However, a month could also be 30 days. If it's a pregnant month, if it's an Iber month. But it can never be more than that or less than that. So the Gemara says, the Mishnah discusses, there are certain times that Bezdin had to decipher whether or not to be Ma'aber the month. We're going to talk about discussions when Bezdin had to decide to be Ma'aber the month, which means to add an extra day. As Rashi explains, they never were ma'aber less than 4 months during the 12th month of the year, and they were never ma'aber more than 8 months during the year. They were never ma'aber 9 months. So the Gemara says there were different cheshbonos that they had. They kept track of which months to be ma'aber, which months to add an extra day, and which months not. And they had to sit down as a bezdin to discuss that, and actually to be ma'aber that, and to be mekadesh the Rosh Chodesh. So the Gemara says, Ibra Chodesh b'shloisha. How many dayanim do you need for deciding for the process of Ibra, of adding an extra day? 3. So the Gemara says, Ibra Chodesh b'shloisha chishiv like tani. The cheshbon is the calculation. The cheshbon, that doesn't need a Maisa Bezdin. That doesn't need all 3 members. Kiddush like tani. And also to be mekadesh Rosh Chodesh, the Gemara says, apparently also doesn't need a Bezdin. All you need is for the actual adding on an extra day of last month, not to be Mekadesh a new month this month. Okay, interesting. So is that true? You don't need a Bezdin for anything? Ela iber loy lekadsha umemela la'aber. So the Gemara says, if you don't need it for Kiddush, you don't need it for anything else. So then what? Just don't be Mekadesh last month. What do you need a Bezdin for? Just let things continue. And don't be Mekadesh Rosh Chodesh. And what? Memela la'aber. So then what's it going to be? It's not the new month yet. So then what is it? It's just an extra day of the last month. Amar Abaye. Abaye says you got it wrong. We read the Mishnah wrong. Tani Kiddush HaChodesh. You're right. The Mishnah is talking about what needs 3 dayanim. What needs 3 dayanim is the process of Kiddush HaChodesh. And the Brisa supports this. Tanya Nami Hachi, Kiddush HaChodesh, the process of sanctifying Rosh Chodesh needs 3 dayanim. Ve'ibra Shana, and the process of adding on an extra month during the year needs 3 dayanim. B'shloisha div Rabbi Meir. That's the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Amar Rava va'ibra ktani. So Rava says, 1 second. Abayi just pulled a fast one on us. We thought that the Mishnah says Iber b'shloisha. Says Abaye, it doesn't really mean Iber. You really don't need any dayanim for Iber. Why? Because Just don't do anything. Sheva altas and memela labre, and it's going to be ma'uber on its own. So therefore, so why do you read the Mishnah? It says Abayi, switch it. It says Kiddush, it doesn't mean Ibr. And really, what needs 3 Dayanim? The sanctification of Rosh Chodesh. But the actual Uber process can actually be Memela. Just don't do anything and it'll automatically be Uber. It'll be an added day from Rava, but Rava says, it's a very nice answer, Abayi, but that's not what the Mishnah said. The Mishnah says Ibr b'shloisha. V'ha Ibr ktani. The Mishnah stated Ibr. Ela Amar Rava, so Rava says you got it wrong. I can have an answer to our question and still read our Mishnah with the Girsa of Ibr. How do I have it? Ela Amar Rava, Kiddush b'yoim Ibr. If you're Mekadesh HaChodesh on the Yom Ibr, what's the Yom Ibr? What's the Yom Ibr? The Yom that potentially could be Me'uberes, which is day 30. The longest day that a month, the longest amount that a month could be. If you're Mekadesh on day 30, which ultimately means what? That this is going to be a Chaser month, that Rosh Chodesh is going to be early this month. Kiddush b'yom b'shloisha. Then I need 3 dayan. Achar Ibr. But if the Kiddush is happening when? On day 31. So then, meaning last month was a Chodesh Muberes, Leka Kiddush. Then you don't have 3 dayanim. It happens automatically, similar to the logic that we just mentioned. What do you need a kiddush for? And that's how you read our Mishnah. The Mishnah never meant that you need 3 dayanim for the process of adding an extra day. The Mishnah meant you needed 3 dayanim for kiddush hachodesh. When do you need kiddush hachodesh? On the Yom Ibr. That's what the Mishnah meant. Kiddush b'Yom Ibr b'shloisha. Kiddush shalei b'Yom Ibr. It's automatically Rosh Chodesh. You don't need 3 dayanim. Umani. And who is this? How does Rabbi support his opinion? Fascinating. It's already a debate in the Tanoim. Now, listen to this. This is unbelievable, this Brisa. Every option in the book of how you make Rosh Chodesh and when you make Rosh Chodesh exists amongst the variations of the Tanoim, as we're going to see in a second. Umani, and whose the opinion, says Rava, of our Mishnah that says Kiddush b'Yom Ibr? If you're Mekadesh Rosh Chodesh to be on day 30, which means last month is a Chaser, then you need 3 dayanim. And if you're not Mekadesh on day 30, you're Mekadesh on day 31, you don't need anything. You don't need the Mishnah. You don't need the dayanim, I mean. Says the Gemara, Reb Elazar ben Tzadok. What's the opinion of Reb Elazar ben Tzadok? It's Sanya. Reb Elazar ben Tzadok Omer. Rabbi Elazar ben Tzadok says, the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, Imlo nira bizmano, if the new moon was not seen in its zman, ein mekadshin also, so then Bezdin does not have to be mekadesh the chodesh. They don't have to say mekudesh. Why? Says Rabbi Elazar ben Tzadok. Ultimately, if it's lo nira bizmano, which means when's Rosh Chodesh going to be? Rosh Chodesh is going to be on day 31, says Rabbi Elazar ben Tzadok. So then you don't need to say mekudesh. Why? Shekvar kodshu b'shamayim. Because automatically it's mekudesh. Because what do you need Bezdin for? Shkoyach Bezdin. You know, we don't pay you the big bucks for doing nothing, says Rabbi Elazar ben Tzadok. We need you when we need you, but now we don't need you because of course it's Rosh Chodesh Shkoyach. You're not saying any chedushim anymore. No pun intended with Kiddush HaChodesh. Oh, Rav Nachman Amar. So that's the opinion of Rav. Okay, Rav Nachman Amar. So Rav Nachman wants to explain our Mishnah as follows. Kiddush achar Ibr b'shloisha, b'yoim Ibr leka Kiddush. Exactly the opposite. Rav Nachman says, no, I could also read our Mishnah and also attach the din that you need 3 dayanim for what? For Kiddush HaChodesh. Yet the Mishnah says, like Rava asked on Abayi, Ibr needs 3. It meant on the day of Ibr. And how do I read the Mishnah? Says Rav Nachman, Kiddush b'yoim Ibr. If you're being Mekadesh HaChodesh, Rosh Chodesh is going to be on day 30, I don't need 3 dayanim. But if it's the next day, Shaloi b'yoim Ibr, so then I need 3 dayanim. Exactly the reverse of the last opinion of Reb Elazar ben Tzadok. Day 31 needs 3 dayanim, and day 30 doesn't need 3 dayanim. What's the logic? So the Gemara says it's already in the Tanoim. Umani, listen to this name. Plemo. This is Shitas Plemo. Who's Plemo? Desanya Plemo Omer. Plemo is of the opinion Bizmanu in Mekadshin Osoi, Shaloi Bizmanu Mekadshin Oso. When do you need to be Mekadesh? When does Bezdin have to say those famous words, Mekudesh, Mekudesh? That's when they're being Mekadesh on a day that's not normal for them to be Mekadesh. Rashi says the Lashon in Plemo. Look at Rashi halfway down. Dibra Mascho Plemo Omer Bizmane Mekadshino. So look what Rashi says. She'ein tzarech lasois chizuk ledovar shari bizmano ba. Meaning, in a case where Bezdin's trying to change the situation, it's not a normal situation, so then Bezdin has to actually convene, they have to get 3 dayanim, they have to go through the process, the procedure, mekudesh, tzrichen chizuk, this is an odd month, it's actually 31 that's going to be Rosh Chodesh, and not 30. But if it's a normal Rosh Chodesh, if it's a classic month, 29 and change, and now the next month is 30, it's things as usual, says Rashi, she'ein tzrichen chizuk. They don't need an extra, that month doesn't need an extra chizuk, an extra support. So then you don't even need a kviyas bezdin, you don't even have to say mekudesh, mekudesh. Zanya, play me, Omer bezman me mekachinoso, shalo bezman mekachinoso. Ravashi Omer la'olam chishav ktani. Ravashi says, no, we got it all wrong. Really, the Mishnah was talking about cheshbonis, the Bezdin meeting about deciding which ones to do, but not to be kaiveya anything, not to actually say the process of mekudesh, to be mekadesh anything. The Mishnah was talking about chishav, umay ibur, chishav de ibur. We have to have 3 dayanim when we want to make cheshbonos, whether or not to add an extra month to discuss the cheshbonos of whether or not this month needs an extra day or doesn't need an extra day. If it's chishuv, so then why didn't the Mishnah actually say chishuv? Why did the Mishnah say ibra chodesh b'shloisha? Says Rav Ashi, very simple. Because, says again, he's saying chishuv de ibur. When do you need 3 dayanim? When the Bezdin is sitting and drinking coffee and discussing, do you think we need an extra month? Do you not need it? Not for the Kiddush process, not for the Ibr process, but for the actual cheshbonis of calculating whether or not you need an extra day. That's what needs 3 dayanim. Says the Gemara, so then why did the Mishnah actually say Ibr HaChodesh? It should have said Chishuv. So says Rav Ashi, I'll tell you why. Because the line before the Mishnah had to say, the next line the Mishnah has to say, Ibr Hashana needs Shloisha. So we wanted to keep the same terminology, Ibra Shana, Ibra Chodesh, but really what it meant by a monthly basis, it meant the Cheshbonos. That's Rav Ashi's answer. Well, no, because the Ibra Shana is going to actually have to be the procedure, as we're going to see. Yeah. So the Gemara says, and whose opinion is that? Rav Ashi Amar Lolam Chishuk Tani Umay Ibri the Chishav Ibr V'Aydil K'Bayil say Ibra Shana Tananami Ibra Chodesh. Chishav Chodesh in Kiddush Iber Chodesh. What am I saying? My Iber Chishav the Iber. V'Aydil Kabayla Misnei Iber Shana Tananami Iber Chodesh. Chishav Chodesh in Kiddush Chodesh Loi, meaning the cheshbon of whether or not you need an extra day, that needs 3 dayanim. But what? Kiddush HaChodesh doesn't need 3 dayanim. Doesn't need 3 dayanim ever? The process of being Mekadesh Rosh Chodesh doesn't need a Bezdin? Asked the Gemara? Yeah. Money, Rab Lazar. The Sanya, Amr Rab Lazar, there's another opinion. Fascinating. So many opinions about how to be Kaveh Rosh Chodesh. The Sanya Rab Lazar, Omer, Bein Bizmano, Bein Shalom Uzbano, whether or not Rosh Chodesh is going to be day 30, whether or not Rosh Chodesh is going to be day 31, Ein Mekadshenoso. They don't need to say the process of Mekudesh. Shene'emar, and he has a drasha. The pasuk says, "V'kidashtem eshnas hachamishim shana shanim ato mekadesh." For Yovel to be mekadesh the year 50, so you have to be mekadesh through. You should be mekadesh through Bezdin, but shanim ato mekadesh v'i ato mekadesh chadashim, and you don't need the process of mekudesh for months. Yeah.
Abaye and Ravos, the 3300s, right? The 300 of the Common Era. So they had the Sanhedrin until 200 years earlier. So if someone flakes him on what the Sanhedrin did.
Excellent question. And I have a question.
Or there were different shitas throughout the time of the Sanhedrin. Throughout the time of Anshe Knesset, like, it might have been the same achloks.
I have a further question. Were they discussing Kiddush al Piriyah even up to the Zman of Abaye and Rava? That's something we also have to discuss. The Rambam says yes. The Rambam says yes, but the Rambam also says you need the Beis Hamikdash. So these are all discussions. You're right. These are questions of what happened historically. What? 100%. Right. 100%.
Gemaras that say, did they observe Tisha B'Av,
in the 70 years.
The 400 years that the
Right.
base of
The Rambam says in Perish Mishnayos and in Tainus that they in Rosh Hashanah that they kept Tisha B'Av in the second base of Mikdash. So, there's a machlokes. The Gemara in Pesachim, Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira, Pesach Shechal b'Shabbos. What do? What? I don't know. All the Achronim ask your kasha. What did you do last year? What did you do the year before? I don't know. Ask your Zayd. Go back to the Bubby and.
Unless they had the machlokes at the same time. They were different chilukei.
So or some siyata d'shmaya that the Rebbeinu Shalom said. Okay, I think it's time to make a Sanhedrin Daf Yom Beis and discuss this topic. And it's a good kasha. It's an alta kasha. Yeah.
What do some of these interpretations do? I mean, I always thought that, Chodesh is Elochem.
Excellent. So Rabbi Yisai, we just learned a Gemara, but this is an unbelievable Gemara. Basically, the kasha is what in the world is going on. Exactly what you're asking. And to understand Pasha Pshat in this Gemara, in my opinion, you need a Minchas Chinuch. The Minchas Chinuch really opens up this Gemara, and his gadlus, he was mechaven to a Ramban in Sefer HaMitzvahs, but he really explains to us exactly what's going on over here. Because as what Dr. Bacon's asking, what I don't understand. We're brought up that we need a bezdin. You have to be mekadesh a chodesh. What's going on over here? So Eidim don't have to come. So that's a story only according to some Tanoim. What's going on over here? You don't need kiddush al pi re'iyah. What happened to the whole story that we learned as kids when Eidim saw the moon and they came in? And this Gemara seems to wipe it out. Sometimes maybe this day, not that day. According to some Tanam, not this Tanam. What in the world is going on here? How do you have? I just have a basic question. How do you have the whole Mishnah in Maseches Rosh Hashanah once you learn this Machlekes Tanoim? What in the world is going on here? It sounds like from our Gemara, black on white, that this whole thing is optional. This whole thing is sometimes, maybe, according to some, never. Is that possible? Machal Shabbos, excellent. These are all Gavaldic questions. So let's see the Minchas Chinuch. So let's get to it. Let's get there. Yeah. So it comes along Minchas Chinuch. And Minchas Chinuch really did an unbelievable job here. So that's a great question. So the Minchas Chinuch in here is in Sifkan Beis, but I'm nervous to say that. Here it's V'hinei mitzvah zu shel kiddush hachodesh. Let's start from, let's got Ulachaira. You see from Ulachaira? Dibram ask Ulachaira? The paragraph Ulachaira? You have the same print as me. The bottom paragraph on the first column. Ulachaira la tanoim desaver debiyom shleishim ein mekadosh Reb Elazar Reb Shimon desaver ein mekadshim klal hachodesh im kain lo sviru luklal din zed the mitzvah lakadesh al pi ha're'iyah. Minchas Chinuch is writing a commentary on the Sefer HaChinuch. What's the Sefer HaChinuch writing a commentary? He's writing a Sefer HaMitzvahs. He's writing a Sefer HaMitzvahs to his son. He wants his son to be aware of we don't know exactly who he was. Some speculate that he was the Ra'ah, but that's been challenged. We don't know 100% who it is, but we know that it's a father that wrote to his son to basically be familiar with all the mitzvahs of the Torah. So the Sefer HaChinuch in Mitzvah Dalet in Parshas Bay decides to write the mitzvah, one of the first mitzvahs in the Torah. There's a mitzvah to be Mekadesh the Chodesh, and that's done through, classically, that was done through Eidim seeing the moon, and they came to Bezdin, and then Bezdin checked them out and said Mekadesh, Mekudesh. Says Minchas Chinuch, but wait a second, didn't you learn Sanhedrin Yudam and Beis? According to all those Tanoim, this mitzvah cannot be counted in the Sefer HaMitzvahs. There's no mitzvah to be Mekadesh al pi re'iyah. It's optional. It depends when. Sometimes. According to some Tanoim, it doesn't even exist at all. Reb Elazar, Reb Shimon, to serve the Eimah Kaddish Klal Chodesh Im Kain Lo Yisviru Klal Din Zed the mitzvah Lakadosh al pi ha're'iyah. So he doesn't have this mitzvah. V'im Kain L'Dehu Ein Yoshvim Bezdin Klal Yom Shloishim. So on day 30, they don't have Umitzapin Le'edim. They don't wait for him. Rak Mashkichan Al Cheshben. What happened to the whole din of Kiddush al pi ha're'iyah? This whole mitzvah that the Sefer HaChinuch is telling us. Basically, our question: what in the world is going on? Asked the Minchas Chinuch. Ube'emes mavur kama pamim. It's throughout the Torah. The mitzvah la bezdin lekabel edus hachodesh. It's a mitzvah for Bezdin to receive the Eidim and check them out and to be Mekadesh al pi the Eidim. Like the Gemara says in Rosh Chodesh Chavav, HaChodesh Hazal Lachem, exactly what you just said. Kazeh Re'eh V'Kadesh, the Rebbeinu Shalom showed him with an etzba. This is the moon that you should be Mekadesh. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know exactly how it would look, and this is what he showed him. You see, that's the mitzvah. Ubavade ein cholik al zeh. What? There's a person who's cholik on that whole parsha in the Torah, Parsha's Bo? V'ayin shom Rosh Hashanah daf chof amud aleph, dumuki la Mishnah shero b'yom shloshim ve'echad. And the Gemara even says on that the Gemara has a whole issue that they were Machal Shabbos, like you brought up, Abe. And the Gemara talks about a case where Yom Shloshim ve'echad was Chal on Shabbos. The mitzvah l'kadosh al pi re'iyah, and it's a mitzvah for the Eidim to be Machal Shabbos and Nisan and Tishrei to make sure to drive a car, to make sure to get the Bezdin on time. That the Mekadosh, says the Gemara, 131 was full out on Shabbos. Ve'enu mavor shom de'asya kahai tanis b'yom Shloshim ve'echad gam kein mekadshim. Oh, and according to Minchas Chinuch says, the Gemara should clarify there, it's going according to who? To Rab Lozer Rab Tzadok, that Rab Lozer Rab Tzadok says, Shalom bizmanu mekadshin al pi, that's a mitzvah lekadsho. What? The Gemara never says boo about that. The Gemara says, Mechal on Shabbos. The Gemara never said it's going according to one of the Tanoim that we just list out. But Minchas Chinuch says, doesn't make sense. My mitzvah we missed something, says the Minchas Chinuch. We're wrong. It's not totally in this. Yomru bezdin mekudosh he mitzvah bifnei atzma. Says the Minchas Chinuch, a fascinating chiddush. There's two halachas. There's one mitzvah for Bezdin to make the proclamation and say, Mekudosh, Mekudosh. Now, there is a machloikis tanoim in our Gemara when that mitzvah applies. Do they have to say it? Do they not have to say it? Some say they should always say it, whether it's on day 30, 31. Some say only on 30. They should make the announcement. Some say only on 31. Not on whatever, both, none. Is there a mitzvah? There's not a mitzvah. That's what our Gemara is talking about. You have to make a proclamation of Rosh Chodesh. And that's our machlokes tanoim. When is the mitzvah for Bezdin to proclaim it? On day 30. And Plamo holds, no, it's only on day 31 is the mitzvah for the announcement. But to receive the Eidim, for Bezdin to question the Eidim, to actually figure out when is Rosh Chodesh without the proclamation. He mitzvah sheyikavu Bezdin hachodesh al pi Eidim sheyiru es alavona. That's not up for grabs. That's not up for debate. That's something that the Sefer HaChinuch is going to count in his minyan ha-mitzvahs. That's not a machlokes tanoim. Eidim should always come, and Bezdin should have a din Torah and a question and a cross-examining of these witnesses. When is Rosh Chodesh? And that is a mitzvah b'fnei atzma, whether or not there's a mitzvah to proclaim it or not. Even if you hold there's no mitzvah to proclaim that day, Bezdin will still go through the process of accepting the Eidim and receiving Kabbalas Eidus on Kviyas HaChodesh. What the Minchas Chinuch is being mechadish to us is that there's one thing called Kviyas HaChodesh, setting up which day through Eidim is going to be Rosh Chodesh, and then there's another thing called Amiras Mekudosh Mekudosh. Bezdin announcing a separate mitzvah. No, that's Chishud De'ibur. That's Chishud De'ibur. So now, I think you're right in the words of Rashi. When Rashi talks about everything in the Gemara by Kiddush, Rashi says his language is Amira. Amira. Where does Rashi say it? Ein omrim in lachar ibur. Biyom lamev echad ein omrim bo mekudosh mekudosh. The whole din in Torah, the whole din in our Gemara is when Bezdin have this separate mitzvah of saying the words mekudosh mekudosh. But says the Minchas Chinuch, but if you want to know, is there a mitzvah to be makabel Eidim only on day 30 or on day 31, or never, that's never up for debate. Avada, there's a mitzvah to be makabel the Eidim. And therefore the Minchas Chinuch says, I just saved all of Shas basically with this question, and jived Rosh Hashanah to this, but apparently the Minchas Chinuch was not the only opinion out there. Look at the next paragraph.
In accordance
Yeah.
Is the Mekudesh a separate mitzvah?
Mm-hmm.
So is it not
That's exactly what he said.
It's not chal if you didn't prepare it.
No, it's chal. It's chal, but you just
Maybe mitzvah should be one then.
what?
Then why is it two separate?
That's what he's saying. He's saying Avadat Rosh Chodesh. Oh, you want to know if they didn't have the Kabbalah Sa'edus. So it depends which Tana. Meaning,
Once you're saying it's maybe mitzvahs, it's two separate mitzvahs, so that.
meaning Rabbi Lazar Reb Tzadok will say, no, so it is chal, but there's still, no, right, so it is chal, but there still is a mitzvah even afterwards. The Rambam writes, there is a mitzvah to be mekadesh l'chodesh l'mafreya. Meaning, let's say Eidim never came in, and it's a week into the next month, so we knew which day it was. So the Rambam says you still have a mitzvah to be mekadesh al piriyah, and the Rambam says the day can change. Meaning everything could go up in the air. The Rambam says, like, you could basically change what day was Rosh Chodesh based on the Haggadah Seder afterwards. So that mitzvah is going to still exist. So then you have that mitzvah, but again, if it was 30 and we assume that it was day 31 because no one came in, so that's the way we'll still be Noyeg Rosh Chodesh on that day. But what the Mechatz Chinuch is being Mekadesh is, irrespective of my opinion about being Mekadesh al Piriyah, I always should be Mekadesh al Piriyah, whether it's 30 or 31. Whatever, depending on what the Eidim have to say when they saw the new moon, but that might not be the same thing as when there's a mitzvah to actually make the proclamation, and there's an independent mitzvah called proclaiming Rosh Chodesh. But the Yaros Dvash,
The Ibra Chodesh doesn't have to only be the Riyah, because we know we don't need that.
right? That's true. There's reasons, right? That's true. Bezdin could go against the Eidim if they find it necessary, as we'll see in the Gemara. But we're talking about a situation where they didn't find that necessary. The Yaros Dvash, who's Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, in his Sefer Hadrosh, he asks this question. She'ikshe, my metaretz hashas, the Gemara that you quoted earlier, Abe. The Gemara says that there was a case that the Eidim had to be Mechal Shabbos, and the Gemara is saying, the Gemara Rosh Hashanah asks, well, what's the case? If it's day 30 and it's Chil Shabbos, so the Gemara says, so what? Bezdin has the capacity to go against the Eidim, like we just said. So the Gemara says, why do you have to be Mechal Shabbos? Just make Rosh Chodesh tomorrow, and just don't make these Eidim drive a car and ride a horse, and just leave it, and it's fine. So the Gemara says, why do we even need Chilul Shabbos? The Gemara Rosh Hashanah on Daf Chofim and Aleph asks, what was this Chilul? This Chilul was not necessary. So the Gemara answers, the Maskana was, no, it was Eidim that were coming to be Mekadesh al Piriyah on Yom Lamed Aleph, on the day 31. That wasn't an option anymore. So what? You see what? That even though we knew it was Rosh Chodesh, we knew anyways, still there's a mitzvah to be Mekadesh al Pi. So, and that's what the Minchas Chinuch says. That Gemara is not only going according to Plamo. That Gemara is not going against Rabbi Lazar Reb Tzadok, who holds that there's no mitzvah to be Mekadesh the Chodesh if it's Shaloi Bizmano. No, that's talking about just the same Mekudesh. But Avada you have to. It says the Yaros Dvash, Shehik Shemai Metaretz Hashas the Ikle Shloishim Ve'echa B'Shabbos the mitzvah Mekadesh al Pi Ariyah Im Kein Rabbi Lazar Reb Tzadok the Soiver the Bechodesh Mole Ein Mekadshin Frekt Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz. What? The Mishnah Dal Shnei Chodeshim Lo Yasik Havasei. You have a Mishnah against Rabbi Lazar Reb Tzadok, asked the Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz. But the Gemara never said boo about that. Namely, what's Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz asking? The Minchas Chinuch's original kasha. How does that Gemara say, without issues, without hesitation, that it was talking about 31 that was Chal on Shabbos, and the Eidim had to drive a car? Says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, what do you mean? But that doesn't work according to Rabbi Lazar Reb Tzadok. Now you have a Mishnah going against Rabbi Lazar Reb Tzadok, and the Gemara never said anything about this Mishnah not being according to Rabbi Lazar Reb Tzadok that holds that you're not Mekadesh Shaloi Bizmana, so they should not drive a car according to Rabbi Lazar Reb Tzadok. Says the Minchas Chinuch, I think the Yaros Dvash is totally wrong. He learned the whole Gemara wrong. And that Rabbi Lazar Reb Tzadok was only talking about the announcement, about the proclamation. But Avada, the mitzvah to be Mekadesh through the Eidim, Avada, that is something that exists according to all Tanoim. However, Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz is not alone. The Ritva on that Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, on Daf Chaf Amud Aleph, that says the Gemara's case that the Eidim had to drive and the Bezdin didn't have other options, was talking about Yom Lamed Aleph, that was Chal on Shabbos, Zok the Ritva, a small Ritva, in Rosh Hashanah, Chaf Amud Aleph. Listen to the words of the Ritva. Hachamay Eskinen Kishachal Yoim Shloishim Ve'echad B'Shabbos. Zok the Ritva. Tisulo Efshel Ashui. You can't wait any longer. Uba'inan Deleisu Ayom Ki Lekacho Al Pi Ha'Re'iyah. Listen to the words of the Ritva. De Kosover Afilu Sheloi Bizmano Mekachin Oso Al Pi Ha'Re'iyah. What did the Ritva just say? That which Rabbi Yonis and Eibish has just asked is 100% correct. His question is not only correct, that this Gemara, says the Ritva, is only understood if you hold like who? Like Plamo in our Gemara. That holds only Shaloi Bizmano Mekachin Al Pi Ha'Re'iyah. But if you hold, and by the way, we don't paskin like that. If you hold like Reb Elazar Reb Tzadok, that holds what? That Bizmano on day 30 Mekachin, Shaloi Bizmano E Mekachin, according to the Ritva's understanding, not like the Minchas Chinuch, then what? Then you can't be Mechal Shabbos. Because the Ritva obviously understood our Gemara like the way we originally assumed. That there's no separate mitzvah called Mekudesh Mekudesh. Mekudesh Mekudesh is dependent on the mitzvah to be Kaiveya when Rosh Chodesh is. And if there's no mitzvah to be Kaiveya Rosh Chodesh, why? Because Reb Elazar Ber Tzadok says, Kfar Kachu Shamayim, it's automatic that it's Rosh Chodesh. So then what? So then there's not going to be mitzvah to announce it. The whole din in our Gemara, according to the Ritva, and it's going to affect Chilul Shabbos. Our machloikas, how to... Now, the Minchas Chinuch has Rishonim. He found the Ramban in Sefer HaMitzvahs that says like him. That the understanding of our Gemara is all about the announcement. But Avada, everyone agrees that there's a mitzvah to be Makabel the Eidim both on day 30 and 31, depending on what the story is. But the Ritva understood, no, our Machlokes Tanoim is an unbelievable Machlokes Tanoim that's going to have tremendous ramifications, la halacha, both about Chilul Shabbos and about something that I'm about to discuss in a second. This will have ramifications, in my opinion, actually in your Sameach's opinion, to each and every one of us, to a shiloh that I got, I think the last Rosh Chodesh. Comes along Taisvis. Shekvar Kodshu Bashamayim. Again, let's go back to this opinion. Reb Elazar Ber Tzadok said, Bizmano Mekadshin, Shaloi Bizmano E Mekadshin. Day 31, what do you need? So again, according to the Minchas Chinuch, what does that mean? That's an announcement issue. Is there a mitzvah for Bezdin to say Mekudesh Mekudesh with 3 dayan? According to the Ritva, no. That means whether or not you b'chlal even, if it's day 31, let's not even accept Eidim anymore. There's no point. There's no mitzvah l'kadosh al pi ha're'iyah anymore. There's no purpose of inviting the Eidim into Bezdin to cross-examine them. Kfar kadshu b'shamayim. Yesh b'farshim, there are those that explain, the Bezdin shel maila, that the Bezdin above in heaven, Mikadshin oso la'olam b'shas hamolad. That Bezdin always automatically do it at the time of the molad. Whatever Adi announced, that's when the Bezdin Shemaila responds. The Einira, and I don't think it's correct. Dimkain bizmanu name kvar kitshu b'shamayim. If you understand like that it's dependent on the moilad, so then you don't even need it by bizmano. So then the whole Gemara doesn't. The Gemara says that there's an issue shalei bizmano, but bizmano there's still something that Bezdin has to be mechadish down here. Elanira keper shakunches perak beis the Rosh Hashanah. To be yoim shloishim mamtinim Bezdin shal maila lebezdin shal mata. Day 30 in heaven, the Rebbeinu Shalom says, and the Bezdin says, hold on, let's see what happens downstairs. If they're mekadesh, so we'll follow them. If they're not Mekadesh, right? Aval yoim shloishim ve'echad she'efsher shaloi kidshu ayoim. So now what? Mekadshin oisoi bashamayim min hashachar. So then what? Then, when, exactly, this is very important, when is Bezdin Shal Maila going to be Mekadesh? In the Shachar Shal Yoim Lamed Aleph. Why am I making such a big deal about when is Bezdin Mi Mekadesh in the Bezdin Shalmaila in the Shachar? I want to know the following issue. Happens all the time. A person forgets Yala V'Yovo, the Rosh Chodesh of the second night of Rosh Chodesh. What's the din? Who was there? Someone was with me. It was Elliot. I told him it was coming up. So this is a din in the Magen Avraham. He quotes the Binyan Ariel. It wasn't so pashut in the place game. What's the din? Because if you say what? The first day is Rosh Chodesh, and now what? It's automatically Rosh Chodesh. What's the reason we don't say? What's the reason the Gemara in Brachas says we don't say Ya'alav Yovel? We don't repeat Ya'alav Yovel. That it's only Lechatchila. That's not the reason the Gemara says. What's the reason? Because really Kiddush HaChodesh does not exist Balayla. So therefore, okay, Lechatchila, say it, but if you don't, so then we're not going to make you go back because it's not a real deal. It's really in Shabbos. But once it's the second day already, it's automatically Rosh Chodesh. We don't need your Kiddush. So then what? So obviously you should repeat it. But once I see this Taisvis, and this Taisvis says no, Bezdin Shalmaila only makes it Rosh Chodesh when? In the following morning. So then what? The same halacha that applied the first night is actually applicable to the second night. This is totally on two girsos in our Gemara. Toisis is girsa, the first three words, the Dibra Maschil. Shekvar Kidshu, what's the next word? Bashamayim. Means the Shamayim is actually being Mekadesh. There's actually a Maisa Kiddush of Shamayim. The Ran in the Chidushei Haran in our Gemara has another girsa. Shekvar Kidshu Shamayim. Says the Ran, you know what that means, Shekvar Kidshu Shamayim? It's just another word of saying that what? Me'elav. It's automatic. No one does. Stop getting all drushes over here and stop talking. Bezdin Shalmaila is for Rosh Hashanah drushes. This is not no Nogea for Ya'alav Yovel. Come on, says the Ran. It just means it happens. There's no way this can't be Rosh Chodesh. If there's no way this can't be Rosh Chodesh, Rabbi says, so what does that mean? That means that what? That you should repeat Ya'alav Yovel the second night. Like the Ran, you should repeat Ya'alav Yovel the second night. Says the Or Sameach in his Chidushim on the Rambam. He thinks the Rambam paskins like Rab Lozer Rab Tzadok, Bizmano Mekadshim, Shaloi Bizmano Ein Mekadshim, says the Or Sameach like the Ritva, that if you're not being Koiveya Rosh Chodesh, the Rambam held, there's no reason to even say Mekudosh, because what? It automatically is Rosh Chodesh. So therefore, says the Or Sameach, I'm taking it one step further, and therefore the second night, if you forgot Ya'alav Yovel, there's not going to be a Maisa Kiddush. No matter how you slice it, it's going to be Rosh Chodesh. There is no Maisa Kviyas of Bezdin to be Koivei. It's automatic that it's Rosh Chodesh, and therefore there's not going to be any language of Mekudosh, because we already know what day Rosh Chodesh is, and therefore, says the Or Sameach, I think that you should repeat Ya'alav Yovel if you forget it the second night. However, Rabbi Isai, Tosfos clearly understands Shekvar Kidshu Bashamayim, that there's a Maisa Kiddush, that Bezdin Shalmaila, and there's a Bezdin that we're still waiting to do what? To be Koiveya when Rosh Chodesh is? No, we don't need that. We know what it is. We just need what? We need an announcement. There's still an inyan of announcing which day Rosh Chodesh is. And for that, Bezdin Shalmaila, they're not going to accept Eidim. They're not going to do that. But there's something to the idea of saying Mekudosh, relevant for Bezdin Shalmaila, even if they're not going to be Mekabel Eidim. Moirav Rabbi Isai sounds like our Tosfos and our din of whether or not we say Ya'alav Yovel the second night might come back to this issue of the Minchas Chinuch and the Ritva. Is there a separate entity called announcing Mekudosh outside of being Mekabel Eidim? And therefore, I take this Gemara very literally, that Bezdin Shalmaila actually sits there in their long frocks, and they're sitting there clapping away saying, Mekudosh, even though there's no Kviyas HaChodesh, even though there's no Kabbalas HaEidus, and they're not one and the same? Or do I say, no, come on. If you're not going to go through the process and the procedure, if you're not going to understand that what we're talking about over here in this whole sugya, like the Ritva says, is to be koiveya Rosh Chodesh, and only once you have kviyas Rosh Chodesh, then do you have the culmination, which is now an announcement of Mekudosh, but an independent mitzvah called Kiddush, Mekudosh. I never heard of such a thing, argues the Or Sameach. And therefore, there is no reason to be Mekadesh or for Bezdin to do anything and to announce anything because they're not being Koveya the Chodesh. It's something that happens automatically. So Rabbi Isai, it comes out that these lishnas in the Gemara, these two approaches of whether or not you're understanding our Gemara, of is it automatic or is it that Bezdin is actually announcing it, might actually emanate from our original discussion about whether or not the Machlokes Tanoim over here, the four opinions, are actually debating a separate issue like the Minchas Chinuch argued, that there's a concept called proclaiming Rosh Chodesh, irrespective of whether or not you're receiving Eidim or not? Or do you hold that no, the whole discussion, the whole issue on the table from the entire sugya, yeah, there is an aspect of an announcement, but it's only after the culmination of receiving Eidim and deciphering whether or not this is actually Rosh Chodesh. And whether or not you're going to take literally Bezdin doing a Kiddush on Rosh Chodesh on the second day will depend on whether or not we're actually figuring it out over here or we're just making an announcement, which potentially could have nafkaminas about Yalav Yava. And obviously we paskin, according to the way the cheshbon that we're making, we paskin that you do not repeat Yalav Yava the second night, which means we hold like the Mahalach of the Minchas Chinuch, that there's an inyan of being saying Mekudesh outside of being Kovei and deciphering whether or not the day is Rosh Chodesh, and therefore Bezdin is actually on the 31st day in the morning saying the words Mekudesh. Yeah.
What constrains Bezdin to being Mekachin Asav Shemaim Min HaShachar? Also says Min HaShachar. Shemaim to be Mekachin Balayla.
Who says? Why isn't Avi's Gemara applicable to Bezdin? Bezdin follows what we do. The rules down here. Maybe Bezdin, that's the Pashas, is Bezdin has to follow the halachas that apply down here. They're trying to mimic the Bezdin downstairs.
We have to be, whether it's House Bezdin or
Yeah.
some kind of cheshbonos and what to do or not to do, that's for us to do. Why would a Bezdin Shomaila
Have to do this.
data that they have?
But there's a but the Minchas Chinuch is telling you there's a mitzvah. So Bezdin Shomaila wants to do a mitzvah. The Rebbeinu Shalom keeps, the Gemara tells us the Rebbeinu Shalom keeps all the mitzvahs of the Torah. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's only according to the Yisrael of the Minchas Chinuch you can understand a literal reading of this Gemara like this. 100%. Yeah.
We discussed that we don't need such expensive consultants.
Yeah.
But agents come and they have machlokas and some of them are fake and they have to decide are they fake or real.
That's the question. So the Minchas Chinuch says they have to decide.
So